Got to turn the mic on. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. We are delighted to have all of you this evening. There will be two opportunities to address the board this evening, the first being Agenda Item 6.1. The first set of public comments is relative to Agenda Item 7.1 through 11.4. Please state the agenda items you're referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is Agenda Item 12.1. There is a sign-up sheet located on the table in the back of the room, and each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board, and a timer will be shown on the screen. And with that, Ms. Marshall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Mrs. Altman? Here. Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here.
Mrs. Meyer?
Here.
Mrs. Davidson?
Here. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, up first this evening, we have district highlights and recognitions, and I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Bell.
Good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Meyer, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Ms. Marshall. This evening, we are very excited to be able to recognize the members of the Westerville City School District staff. And so we have developed a proclamation that is designed to express our true appreciation for all that the staff members do and the tremendous contributions that they make into the lives of our young people. Our proclamation reads as follows: a staff appreciation proclamation. Whereas our teachers and school employees serve in partnership with parents and other members of their school community to ensure the appropriate education, safety, and well-being for all children. And whereas the important work done each day by our teachers and school employees helps prepare students to become lifelong learners and contribute as world citizens. And whereas the impact made by our teachers and school employees extends well beyond their job titles as they serve as listeners, role models, motivators, and mentors to our students. And whereas our teachers and school employees inspire students to meet high academic standards, learn how they can contribute to society, and become the best person they can be. And whereas we recognize and support our teachers and school employees in their collective mission to educate the children of our community in a caring, nurturing environment where they belong. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the members of the Westerville City School District Board of Education, do hereby designate the week of May the 8th through May 12th, 2023 as Staff Appreciation Week in the Westerville City School District. And we urge everyone who lives and works within our district boundaries to join us in thanking our school employees for their service and commitment to public education. So thank you to all of the members of the staff of the Westerville City School District. This is really a great time of year for us because this is a time where we get to celebrate and to love on the members of our staff. For our next round of recognitions, before we begin, let us start by saying congratulations. We are thrilled that we can recognize our retirees in person and share with you how important your contributions are to our district. Although it makes us sad because we're losing such great employees and really terrific people, we can rejoice in knowing that this starts a new chapter in your life. Collectively, the Westerville City School District is losing over 750 years in collective district combined experience from its licensed and classified staff. Regardless of where this phase of your life's journey takes you, please know how proud we are of the work you have accomplished during your time here. Your legacy will be treasured for many years to come as the students whose lives you touched and guided move on to become successful adults. In addition, you have touched the lives of your peers as well. Seeing the results of your work firsthand provides us with an optimistic outlook on the state of our schools, the state of our community, and the state of our country, because you have touched the life of a child and have taught our future leaders well. We wish you a long, healthy, and happy retirement. Yours will truly be big shoes to fill. This year's retirees will be honored much like in a graduation. So what we are going to do, we're going to ask each retiree in attendance, you'll be called up to the podium to stand next to me, and we will then share 3 words that your coworkers say best describe you. I know some people just got nervous. Which coworkers did they talk to exactly? And then we'll ask if you'll proceed down the receiving line. And so with that, let's begin our celebration this evening. Our first retiree to be recognized is Kathleen Benton. Kathleen serves at Blendon Middle School. The 3 words that her co-workers chose that say best describe her are caring, thoughtful, and patient. Congratulations, Kathleen, and thank you for all you do. Congratulations, Kathleen. Our next honoree is Mr. Timothy Lawrence. Timothy serves at Westerville Central High School. And the 3 words that your co-workers say best describe you: dedicated, goal-oriented, and collaborative. Congratulations, Timothy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Congratulations, Timothy. Our next honoree this evening is Miss Rhonda Gilpin. And Rhonda serves at the ELC and is the WEA rep. Hello. Okay, Rhonda. The 3 words that your co-workers say best describe you are passionate, brave, and loyal. Thank you for all that you have done. Congratulations, Rhonda. Our next honoree this evening is Teresa Kitzmiller. Teresa serves in our food services area. Hi. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you, Teresa, are reliable, adaptable, and optimistic. Congratulations and thank you. Congratulations, Teresa. Our next honoree is Anna Rose McInturf. Anna Rose serves in our food services area as well. And your coworkers say the three words that best describe you are dedicated, hardworking, and charismatic. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Anna Rose. Our next honoree is Susan Peterfee. And Susan also serves in our food services area. Susan, your coworkers say the best three words to describe you are dedicated, organized, and diligent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Susan. Our next honoree is Elizabeth Betsy Denny. And Betsy serves at Faust Elementary School. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are wise, passionate, and innovative. Congratulations and thank you. Congratulations, Miss Denny. Our next honoree this evening is Amy Cruiser. Amy also serves at Faust Elementary. The three words that your coworkers say best, oh, they're all good, best describe you are caring, funny, and honest. Congratulations. Congratulations, Amy. Our next honoree is Pamela Charleston. Pamela serves at Genoa Middle School. Pamela, the three words that your coworkers say best describe you are passionate, caring, and dedicated. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Pamela. Our next honoree is Sarah Schaefer. And Sarah serves at Genoa Middle School. And you survived.
I did.
The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are hysterical, fun-loving, and uplifting. Congratulations, and thank you so much. Congratulations, Sarah. Our next honoree is Terry Van Huffel. And Terry also serves at Genoa Middle School. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are compassionate, reliable, and dedicated. Congratulations, and thank you so much. Congratulations, Terry. Our next honoree is Vicki Moss. And Vicki serves at Mark Twain Elementary School. The three words your coworkers say best describe you are loyal, exceptional, and compassionate. Thank you so very much. Congratulations, Vicki. Our next honoree is Lisa Dapose. And Lisa serves at McVeigh Elementary School. The three words your coworkers say best describe you are peaceful, caring, and patient. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lisa. Our next honoree is Kyle Campbell. And Mr. Campbell serves at Westerville North High School. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are creative, adventurous, and inventive. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Mr. Campbell. Our next honoree is Linda Mapes. Linda Mapes. And Linda serves at Westerville South High School. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are hardworking, organized, and knowledgeable. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And our final honoree for this evening is Linda Nolan. And Ms. Nolan serves also at Westerville South High School. The three words that your coworkers say best describe you are dedicated, caring, and fun. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations, Linda. And with that, would you please join me? Let's give another round of applause to all of our retirees. We thank you all truly from the bottom of our hearts for over a collective 750 years of service to the students and families of the Westerville City School District. At this time, we will take a short pause and allow all of our honorees for this evening, if you would please, follow Charlie Boss out to the lobby area in front of the Westerville Bell for a photo opportunity.
Okay, up next, we have reports. 4.1, the equity update, and I would like to invite Mrs. Simmons to the podium. Ms. Simmons. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. As she said, my name is Anitra Simmons, and this is my colleague, Tree Reeves. I'm the equity coordinator for the district, and she is the equity specialist. And tonight, we're going to be providing you with a brief overview of the equity work that has occurred in our district this school year. So first, we're going to start by looking at the work done at the building level for grades pre-K through 12. Then we're going to move to the work that we've done at the district level. Then we're going to talk about our partnership and how our partners have supported us this year in our equity work and moving that forward. And then we're going to move on to looking forward to the next year and things that we want to try to do there. So at the building level, each building pre-K through 12 was asked to establish SMART equity goals for their building. Those goals were focused on access, discipline, student achievement, and a sense of belonging. Before the school year began, a meeting was held to discuss the building progress from last year. And based on these conversations, goals for this year were developed and face-to-face meetings were held to monitor progress and to determine how best we could support building principals and equity facilitators in their work. During the meeting, we discussed the midway point of progress and how we could support their work in the building. We're going to conclude our year-end conversations, and then we'll have an actual goal completing review form that will be due for their final progress on May 25th, 2023, where they'll share the completion of all of the work that they've done this year.
Good evening. As Anitra said, my name is Tree Reeves, Educational Equity Specialist. Every school was given autonomy as to how they wanted to reach their equity goals in their individual schools. Some schools decided to focus on increasing literature resources for staff and students. Other schools focused on adding student voice to the equity work in the building and added student organizations to help lead this work in the building. Finally, schools added artifacts to the school to help students feel connected and a sense of belonging in the buildings. The next few slides show examples of the work that has been done this year. And I wish we had time to highlight all the schools, but you're going to receive a sample. So we have Charrington, and then Hanby, Emerson, Heritage, and Blendon Middle School. And since we're on the slide with Blendon, I wanted to show you an example of one of those artifacts that took place at Blendon Middle School. The National Council of Teachers of English has hosted the longest running diverse literature workshop across the country. It is a national event, and it's called the African American Read-In. It's an opportunity for children and their families to engage in a morning of literacy and joy and experience diverse and multicultural literature. I have been blessed to partner with a teacher named Mrs. Lee Rutherford in bringing this to Westerville City Schools 4 years in a row. Unfortunately, 2 were virtual, 1 in person. But I must tell you that this year, the greatest success is we went from normally 25 to 30 students represented. This year we had over 100. Here is the beautiful artifact that was created by the families of Westerville City Schools. The theme this year was a quilting, and how we are all woven together. No matter our culture, our heritage, our ethnicity, we all make a beautiful tapestry together. And each family decided to write a theme that represented their family. I can't read them all, but one of them says, "Love renews us." Another family wrote, "We sing together." And another family wrote, "It's not love, it's not a heart unless it has love in it." So that's an example of families doing equity work together and enjoying and celebrating inclusion. Here's Westerville South and Central. We used a similar approach to determine the needs of support at the district level. In the beginning, we met with district administrators from the following departments: Human Resources, Department of English Learners, Mental Health and Wellness, Curriculum and Instruction, Executive Leadership, and the RESA program, and RESA stands for Resident Educator Summative Assessment. So these are our teachers who are new to the profession, and we met with that program administrator. Thank you, and now Anitra will talk about the types of support.
So this is the gamut of support that we provided this year. First, we provided PD for our equity facilitators. That was focused on creating a culture and a sense of belonging so that everyone feels seen, valued, heard, and celebrated. We also provided them with PD around how to use data to help to improve and move their equity work forward in their buildings. And they were also given time to collaborate with one another, to share best practices and to share strategies and ideas that were working for them in their buildings. We also provided support to our elementary and secondary principals at their meetings. Training was provided district-wide on how to support our LGBTQ+ students. We also provided training at We Day for our resident educators, our new administrators, our teachers, and classified staff on Be the Change. Classified administrators were also trained to be able to be facilitators for Be the Change for classified staff. 3 sessions were actually facilitated by classified administrators on We Day to train the classified staff in the first 2 modules of Be the Change. We also met with high school and middle school students to conduct focus groups. The focus groups allowed the opportunity for students to share their voice and concerns regarding things pertaining to their schools. Also, we met with our building leaders during these goal conversations at the beginning of the year with middle school principals. Several of them shared that they would like to do something more to support the boys in their building. We were able to use our equity funds to support groups at each middle school. The boys and girls groups were facilitated by Tim Brown and Yvonne Thornton at each middle school. The boys group was highlighted on the news. And Mr. Brown partnered with Westerville North and Westerville South to have peer mentors as part of the group model. The district equity team was reestablished this year. Advocacy teams were developed in each of the following areas: budget and finance, HR, curriculum and instruction, student well-being, discipline, family and community engagement, and specialized populations. Each team established a goal for their work this year, and many of the goals focused on analyzing data to determine the needs to inform how to move forward. We held a DET stakeholder meeting in January where goals, progress, and plans were shared with stakeholders. Second semester, we facilitated a book study on Zaretta Hammond's Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, promoting authentic engagement and rigor among culturally and linguistically diverse students. There were 126 educators across grades K through 12 who participated in this course. Participants engaged in conversation about the importance of understanding a student's culture and how it can be used to assist learners in the classroom. The text also explored brain theory and the connection to culture. CEUs were offered as an option for participating if you weren't interested in receiving college credit with Muskingum University. And now Tree's going to talk with us about our partnerships.
Sorry. We can dance later. One of our goals was to increase our own knowledge of best practices in equity work. So we attended several workshops and conferences. Then we shared those new insights and strategies with building leaders, teachers, and our equity facilitators. One partner we worked with was The Ohio State University. They facilitated a program called Leading Anti-Racism Change Collaborative, where we collaborated with other school districts and were taught by professors in the field regarding best practices. We were able to incorporate some of the tools and strategies to enhance our work. Those who facilitated the professional development At the collaborative, we're able to provide professional development to our equity facilitators around how to use data to drive the work forward. And now Anitra's going to tell us about looking forward.
So we've had some momentum this year, and we look to continue the momentum going forward. There are a few things that we would like to focus on next year. First, we want to ensure alignment between the equity work and the portrait of a graduate. We want to make sure that every staff member is able to see equity in every piece of the portrait. Next, we want to analyze the structure that is in place within buildings to support the equity work. We want to make sure that everyone has a solid foundation, which consists of an admin lead, an equity facilitator, and an equity team of 5 to 7 people. Next, we would also like to incorporate review of data as part of this structure for the equity team. Our equity facilitators have been trained on using data, and that has been a focus of our PD this year. The building equity team could have 3 different teams that analyze data in the areas of behavior, discipline, and attendance on a consistent basis. The data could then be shared with staff to identify recommendations for areas that could be improved. We also want to continue to develop our comprehensive PD program for our equity facilitators. There are tools and strategies that would assist them in continuing to move the work forward. We want to make sure that we are equipping them to effectively do this work within their buildings. Lastly, we want to provide PD opportunities for Westerville staff to continue engaging in conversations about matters of equity. We will host another book study and offer E-Cubed, Equity Empowerment Engagement, which will be courses aligned with our equity framework. Courses about cultural mindset, student-centered learning, and family and community engagement. Thank you for allowing us to share with you what we have been able to accomplish this year. We appreciate your support and look forward to continuing this work in the future. Are there any questions at this time?
Questions? No?
Thank you. And that quilt is beautiful. And I've been to the read-in, and it was really lovely when I went. So thank you for doing that. You guys talked about a lot of really great things that happen in the school district, and also best practices from OSU. I'm wondering, how is that shared amongst schools? And is there kind of like, I don't know, a suite, a menu that, you know, for some consistency across schools of things that people can pick and choose and do?
Mm-hmm. So the best practices that we've learned from Ohio State, so far what we've tried to do is infuse them into our equity facilitator meetings, because we believe that if we start with them, then they can bring it to their building, and then it can help to push it out that way. So we're starting with our equity facilitators, but we are absolutely open, and we are constantly collaborating with principals about what are the needs for your building? What do you need? And we support them in that way. So any of the best practices that we have learned from Ohio State, we are more than willing to use those within the buildings as well. We have also used one of the tools called an equity gap analysis tool. We use that at our district equity team meeting to be able to look at our practices within the district across the board to see where there were, if there were any gaps, and identify things that we could do to fix those holes that we saw.
Ask a follow-up. Thank you. So having all of that information, pushing down the best practices and then pushing out, and I know you talked about SMART goals for each of the buildings. Mm-hmm. How does all of that roll up into a larger plan, or is there a larger plan with SMART goals? And then how, I'm sorry, I'm just really curious. How does it get looked at to see how successful we're being overall in the district?
So in terms of progress monitoring, we monitor throughout the entire year. We have actual conversations with our building leaders and our equity facilitators about their goals, specifically beginning, middle, and end of the year, but we're always in constant conversation with them. If they need anything, we contact them for support in terms of progress monitoring the goals, and we're always having conversations with our equity facilitators as well about their needs and how we can support them in the work that they are doing in the building.
So does that all then roll up into a larger plan?
So every building has autonomy in terms of their goals. And so the goals are aligned, like I said, with the discipline, the access to student achievement, and the sense of belonging. So they're all aligned. But can you give me a little more information about what do you mean by the larger plan? Yes. If you
So
could do that
I'm
for me.
curious if, like, there's an overall arching plan for making sure that you talked about equity throughout all of the various, what is it I'm looking for? Like all the various touch points, and, throughout the school district. And so I'm wondering if there's an overall arching plan where there's some goals that are laid out in those buildings, see those overall arching goals and then go back and take those and develop their own individual plans based on the needs within the building.
So those are the equity goals themselves. Those are based on the building need. So the buildings are developing the goals according to the needs for their building.
What I might add there is go back several years ago when this work began and when Cynthia was here, and there was a document put together, a framework, 10 equity goals. So that's always been the driver, and all the components you're hearing tonight about what we're working on all fall under that overarching piece. I mean, I think where we're really, and I think COVID obviously got away some of this, is a lot of this is about capacity building and culture, right, and a willingness to and understanding. I think that's where a lot of what is moving forward as we try and get to more quantifiable data related to student performance, I think is part of what we're going to be driving to. But I would say that larger framework would serve as kind of the umbrella of the work we're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a question about the moving forward piece and the Portrait of a Graduate work, and bringing the equity work in to align with Portrait of a Graduate. And I really appreciate wanting to bring those things together. And I'm wondering what you think some first steps are in that particular work.
So some first steps, we've kind of started to talk about this just in terms of our, E-Cubed Institute Academy that we're going to be having, and really trying to focus on the student-centered learning piece. So one of the pieces with the equity work is making sure you're meeting the needs of all of the students that you're serving. And so when you think about student-centered learning, that really connects to the equity piece as well as making sure that we are providing all of our students, which we're stretching them, we're making them, giving them the ability to critical think, giving them the ability to problem solve, giving them the ability to communicate, are all pieces that also tie into the equity work, making sure that we're giving all of our students everything that they need to be successful.
Thank you, because you could break it into 1,000 components, but there's what we teach, right? And then there's how. And in the how piece, there can so often be unintentional inequity,
Yes.
right? So I appreciate that how piece is getting some attention, and really looking forward to seeing what that looks like at different levels.
Yes.
Right? Not the same in first grade as 12th.
Right.
So appreciate that. And then my other question was just if you could give us an example. So clearly, building equity teams have that autonomy, to set their own goals and so on. But I'm just wondering if you could give us an example of how maybe the building work and the district work connect. That would be helpful for me to picture those two pieces and how they come together.
So one of the focuses for some buildings was really to look at their discipline data and really to talk about, what trends or patterns they noticed in their data. We also had a discipline team on the district equity team as well that was looking at data, that was trying to research kind of some best practices around, how to make strides in any areas where there were trends and patterns. So that's one kind of connection. We also had our community engagement where people were creating goals around sense of belonging and making sure that communities felt like they were a part of the building. And so our community engagement team on the district level was creating a resource of things that could be used to help to bring that connection, help to bring that sense of belonging for our buildings across the whole. So those are just two examples of how we're bridging what the buildings are doing with the district work.
Thank you, because I think that's so important. There's so much good work the building teams come up with, right? And they do, and then how can we share that across? So appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I would just like to thank you for continuing the legacy of great work that our district is doing in this area. And also want to thank the Army of Equity facilitators in our buildings and volunteers that become part of the equity teams in the buildings. We truly appreciate all of the work that they volunteer and contribute to the process. I would also like to thank you and just hit once again a couple of what I think are some of the strengths of the work that I heard you share this evening. One being the flexibility in the work that we are doing, so that it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all, but you've actually given the buildings the flexibility to be able to adapt and adjust to the needs of the students that are a part of their learning community. So thank you for continuing that. And I really want to thank you for transitioning to and incorporating data into the equity process. I think a lot of times in this kind of work, the data gets lost. But thank you for bringing a quantitative approach as well as a qualitative approach to this work. So thank you so much for the work that you've done, and look forward to what the future holds for us in this area.
Thank you.
Following up on what Vaughn had to say, thank you. As everyone said, thank you so much. Vaughn was talking about the flexibility. I also want to thank you for holding fast to that. It is very easy to let that go in a fervent effort to show progress across areas. It's easy to let go of the flexibility that is inherently necessary to make sure that that progress is embedded. So the way I look at it is, in many ways, that flexibility is a key underpinning and foundation of equity itself. So I thank you very much for that, both of you and everyone who's engaged in the work. Vaughn also mentioned data, and that was what I wanted to talk about too. I wondered if you could give a little information on the data that you are using to analyze. It's one thing to say we analyze data, it's another thing altogether to feel very comfortable that the data sources we've identified are actually going to get us to where we need to go.
Absolutely. So we've been looking at iReady data for our students in elementary and middle school as well, in math and reading. We've also been looking at discipline data. We've been looking at panorama data to be able to look at their sense of belonging from pre to post, to figure that out. So those are just kind of three data sources that we've been looking at right now. We've also looked at AP, IB, CCP representation as well. Through our Lead Hire program, we've looked at those data sources as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Another thank you for you is something that I raised and was annoying about when we first began this journey, which is the idea to look at equity broadly and to identify beyond the initial layers that we know exist, and to really look more deeply into any inequities that may exist beyond what we think we see. And I thank you for that work very, very much. That's also difficult to do. And I thank you for that. Last question I have for you is, what have you found most challenging this year?
I think with any work, I think we're all in different places, right? You have some people who are ready to go, you have some people who are not so sure, and you have some people who are resistant. And so I think the big thing is, how do you move all groups forward in a manner that you still achieve progress? And so that's what we've really been striving to do. And I think, just kind of being able to manage those three groups and figure out what each group needs has been our biggest challenge this year. But we've done it, and so we're really proud of the work that we've been able to do.
I'm very proud too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm last. tell us a little bit about your literature audit. So what did you find and what kind of data did you gather?
Yes. Give Anitra a minute to. The literature audit was a tool that schools used to evaluate what was in the classroom and also in their libraries, in their school libraries. So they looked at, do the books on the shelf match the students in the seats? Do they mirror our diverse and beautiful school district? Then they also looked at it for quality, making sure that it was quality literature, free of negative stereotypes or biases or things like that that might skew something or play into a narrative that we don't want to have about a group of people or a culture of people. They also looked at it to make sure it exposed the children to great vocabulary. So that was really what the literature audit was about. What's beautiful about that type of journey and that type of work is that everybody can look at it from that lens, and therefore everybody plays a part in moving forward equity in their building.
So I did notice this year, as people applied for grants and need, there was a lot of requests for different types of books than we've seen in the past. So I'm just wondering if maybe that had an impact on it, just having people look at it. So that's just one thing. I've got more questions.
And I would agree with that. That was what spurred it on when everybody did that evaluation, and we talked about how important data is. Once you look at the numbers and you're looking and you're saying, we have no books that paint some of our families that come from other countries in a light that's not a deficit model. Just they're the refugee, they had to come here, we had to save them. When they looked at that and said, hey, we need something that celebrates all the things that they bring to enrich America, then it spurs teachers on to apply for those grants.
Sure, sure. So the panorama dig for data, what you talked about it a little bit. Can you give us a little bit more what you were looking for, what you got out of it?
I could start, and okay, you jump
Sounds
in. We were looking for that sense of belonging. Do students feel good in their space? Do they feel safe? Do they feel that they can achieve anything? How are they feeling about school, about themselves? Do they feel as if their culture is being celebrated? Those type of things, because we know that all learning takes place within a cultural lens. We're not devoid of that. And so when students feel like they belong and they're heard and they're seen, it lowers any type of affective filter so that they can achieve and be successful in school. Do I need to add anything to it?
The only other thing I would add is that we also used some of the panorama data to create a PD presentation for an actual school in the district, because they were really having some challenges with students feeling like they belong, students connecting. And so we wanted to make sure that they could see the lens of, okay, this is how they're feeling, right? And we have to honor their voices, and we have to honor how they're feeling, and being able to move it forward from there, so we could determine, okay, what strategies do we need to do to make sure that we're making these connections with our students.
Okay. So I want to tell you both, I do not have a great memory. So when we first received this, I went back and started at the beginning. So in 2020, Dr. Kellogg, you gave us those 10 points, right? And two of them really spoke to me. So continue to analyze academic data, discipline processes, procedures, and data to identify the district and build growth areas and blind spots regarding equity. And I think that's what you were talking about, Nancy, those pieces that we don't see, right? And then number 3, which I think is super important, revitalize and support the goal of the district in building equity teams to address disparities and equities in achievement, discipline, engagement, social emotional well-being for students of color and across all populations. So I kind of started there, like where are we at there? And looked around on the website of all the stuff you had, went back to the slideshow, and I was happy to see, and I think this is a heritage, disability awareness. So one place that we probably don't focus as much on. After hearing your presentation, I really didn't hear anything about that. I would love, as we move forward, to remember those other pieces. And I did hear you mention LGBTQ, but what are we doing for that community right now? How are we making them feel seen, valued, and heard? Because if you look at the slides, there's no representation there.
So I think in regards to that, we really just started with the professional development for the staff, but there are also GSAs in buildings that are supporting our LGBTQ plus students. And also, in terms of the disability piece as well, part of the district equity team this year, for the first time, we've added the specialized populations group. And what they do is they really look at the data for special education students, ESL students, gifted, all those other populations that aren't often talked about or discussed. And so that's one way we've started to incorporate those things into our equity work right now.
And I truly appreciate all that you've done. I think you've done a nice job putting this on the map. I would just really highly recommend it. It's so important for everyone to be able to see themselves, especially when we're talking about equity for all going forward. So I'll be excited to see what happens with the Portrait of a Graduate and how all of these populations can be shown next year. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Board meeting minutes, 5.1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Education meeting held on Monday, April 24th, 2023, as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments here? Questions? Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 5.2, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Education meeting held on Monday, May 1st, 2023, as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions here? Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any public comments this evening. That takes us to financials. 7.1, a resolution to approve the purchases in accordance with ORC 5705.41 and Board Policy 6320. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Marshall?
Thank you, President Davidson, members of the board. This is what we refer to as the now purchase orders, where we have a purchase order that's dated after an invoice date. So we have three before you this evening. The first one is for an author visit at Point View Elementary. It's funded from a grant, and that was just getting the purchase order late based on the grant allocation and all that. And then we have unemployment, which was due to a clerical error. We inadvertently closed a purchase order that we should not have closed. And the last one is preschool tuition for a Court Place student in Canal, Winchester. And we got late notification of the court placement. So.
Any questions?
Nope.
Hearing none?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. Is it okay if I take the personnel consent agenda as one? May I have a motion for the personnel consent agenda, 8.1 through 8.12?
Moved.
Second.
Welcome, Mr. Cooper.
Hi, good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Meyer, members of the board, Mrs. Marshall, and Dr. Kellogg. The items in this evening's personnel consent agenda, although quite extensive, do include regular action with regard to resignations, leaves of absence, one-time pays, contract status changes, and employment. It is long. It is that time of year in HR, so thank you for taking a look at everything there. One item I do want to point out, though, and highlight, she was here just a little while ago. Kathy Benson is on here this evening after 32 years of service to our district. She was an intervention specialist and is an intervention specialist still for the remainder of the year, who has made that decision to retire, and certainly we wish her well in the years of retirement ahead and are so thankful to the work that she's done and the dedication to our students and community here at Westerville. At this time, I can take any questions you may have.
Hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Dr. Nestabaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. Is it okay if we do old business as one? May I have a motion for 9.1, final reading policy 2271, and 9.2, final reading for policy 6325?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, additions, comments here? Hearing none?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Dr. Nestabaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes. New business, first reading 10.1, 2324, student handbooks. Mr. McElwain, welcome.
Thanks for having me this evening. Thank you, President Davidson, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall, members of the Board of Education. It is my distinct pleasure to present to you the first reading of the 2023-2024 elementary school, middle school, and high school handbooks. Very exciting time here. Just a reminder, every year the handbooks undergo a district committee review, and we take that process beginning in January. That runs through the second half of the school year, and then we bring that to the Board of Education and everybody for review in the springtime before next school year. We had lots of people on our committee again this year, a lot of people to thank for their time and efforts. One of those individuals is in the back of the room, Mr. Matt Davis. We appreciate his design and work on the new handbook covers for us. Thank you, Matt. With that, you'll notice that we do have a new logo on our middle school handbook cover with a new addition to our Westerville family with Minerva. So we're very excited, and we thank Matt for his efforts with that. We have another individual in the back of the room that we need to thank for her efforts on the handbook committee this year. And unfortunately, it's probably maybe her last handbook committee, and that's WEA President Rhonda Gilpin. A lot of insights. And you want to come back and help us again next year? Okay, all right. Just wanted to double check. But we greatly appreciate Rhonda, her experience and her insights helping out with that. We had members of all three levels at the elementary, middle school, and high school WEA staff members participate and give their insights, as well as administrators at all three levels. I want to thank Alan Hunt and the transportation team for their insights within this process as well. And I'd like to also thank our parent council rep, Ryan Hilperts, for her time. Greatly appreciated her giving us her time. There was a couple times she even had to join us virtually due to playing mom and playing that role. So it really is an inclusive process with a lot of people helping us out and a lot of people to thank, and we appreciate their time. With this, you have a summary of changes for each of the three handbooks. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those at this time.
Hearing none.
Thank you, Val. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, up next, 10.2, first reading, elementary science curriculum, and I'd like to welcome Ms. Toma.
Good evening, everybody. I'm super excited to be here, like always, to tell you that we have a new elementary science course of study. So you have the copies of that. The elementary curriculum and instruction department worked really hard. I want to thank Heather Griffith, who's here in the audience. She is our curriculum specialist for math and science and did a great job leading this teacher committee to draft and revise the science course of study. Over the course of this year, we've been using Mystery Science as a resource to help us deliver that instruction, and it has been phenomenal. Our teachers are excited, our students are excited. It's really fun to walk into an elementary classroom and see science happening and hands-on experiences, and just, it's been phenomenal. I think everybody's happy with that resource to help us deliver our state standards and the next generation science standards. So we're really excited about that. While I am up here, I'm going to briefly tell you about our achievement record, because we had another great group of teachers working on the revisions to the elementary achievement record. I spoke a little bit about that in the fall and wanted to tell you that we're on track. So next fall, I feel like I need a drum roll. We're going to roll out a new elementary achievement record that has had both teacher feedback, administrator feedback, and parent feedback. So it's been a really great process, and I'm excited to see that come to fruition next year. And then the other item I updated you on in the fall was to come back and let you know that our Social Studies Committee continued their work throughout the year, but we did decide that we wanted to not move forward with SAVIS, which we were using as a resource for our social studies curriculum. So over the course of next year, we're going to tackle it together and come back to you with some new ideas about resources for social studies and how we want to support all of our classrooms. With it being Teacher Appreciation and Staff Appreciation Week, I just want to thank all of the teachers who served on the committees after school, late at night, after a hard day of work, and they were always very positive and wonderful to work with, and so a lot of committee work happened this year, and I'm very proud of the things that we were able to accomplish. So I'll take it back to science. If you have any questions on the elementary course of study for science, I'd be happy to answer those.
Not a question, but just a comment. I've heard wonderful things from teachers about Mystery Science.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted that there is such widespread enjoyment of
Yeah.
that particular resource. And I know the kids are really enjoying it too. It seems to be an extraordinarily good fit for our course of study.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know it's a ton of work. I say I know that, but I don't really know how much work it feels like. So thank you. And I'm just wondering if you can walk everybody through real quickly, when you roll out a new course of study like this, what does that look like in terms of getting the teachers prepared?
Yeah, so a lot of work has gone into it that started even last year. So they really dug deep into the science standards and really grounded themselves in, if this is what we're required to teach, how do we want to get there? They looked at a couple different resources and chose Mystery Science because they felt that that was going to support the teachers and the students the best. Over this year, teachers had access to the materials for that, and the teachers came back as they were going through it talking about pacing and which units they wanted to tie together and the time of year, and this says it was supposed to take 3 weeks, but it took 4, and just the kind of realistic things that when you have a resource, you need to go back and, like, how did that actually work, and make those changes. There was professional development at We Day for teachers when Mystery Science started this year, and then that has been to be honest, Mystery Science is pretty easy to implement, and that's one of the reasons why teachers have really enjoyed it, because it's fun to plan for and everything's right there and it's student-friendly, and the science experiment materials come packaged. So a lot of the teacher prep work that we would have needed to support kind of came together really nicely, and this year was more about, let's get our hands on it, let's look at the pacing, the scope of sequence, the assessments, make sure there's nothing we need to tweak or change. With 5th grade having a Ohio State test, we needed to make sure that we didn't miss anything and that we were really prepared for those students to be able to be successful on the test. So we took some extra time to look at that and pull some additional resources. So it's a big process, but I feel like teachers feel supported and they're able to implement it well. And anytime you walk into a classroom and see the science happening in elementary, the kids will happily tell you everything that they're studying and learning.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. It's, I think, easy to not think about how much goes into implementing a new course of study.
Yeah.
You know, at elementary, it's different at every level. And just wondering if you could tack on to that then real quickly, when we have new teachers come in,
Yeah.
how do we move them?
Yep. So we will continue to offer an August We Day session every year, but we do new teacher training in the summer for all of the content areas in elementary. It's tricky to be an elementary teacher because in most cases you're teaching all of the content, and so there's a lot to learn and make sure that you're prepared for. So we do offer new teacher training before We Day, and then we have We Day sessions they can attend. We also are fortunate to have instructional coaches at the building that are right there to lend a hand, because you do there's a lot to take in when you come in new to Westerville, and so we just want to make sure that there's multiple supports in place.
Thank you. Thanks for that,
Yep.
for supporting our teachers, and let us know how we can help you in that.
Come check out science.
I love science. I will be there. Thanks.
So what was the curriculum team, how many teachers were on it?
I want to say, I'm going to look at Heather, but I want to say it was about 30.
Oh, wow.
35. I was pretty close.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
giving up that, I mean, it was nighttime and it was a long day, and they came and they worked so hard, and it was really, we are very fortunate in Westerville to have such great teachers.
So, did everyone want mystery science?
I think it was pretty unanimous. That vote took place before I came. I'm looking at Heather. Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's why I'm saying I feel like this, if you want to come out and see it firsthand, it is really wonderful to watch what's happening, to see teachers so excited to be teaching science instruction and to see the kids interacting and collaborating. It's been a good year in science.
Good. That's fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. As a science nerd, I appreciate that. I'm curious if so you talk about mystery science, but for folks that might be watching this at home, can you talk about what a day in that might look like, or a lesson in like that?
Yep, so there's an overarching question that they're studying, and then it takes them through a video content piece, just an engaging video that gives them just a little bit of that background knowledge building, and all students will watch that, and then they have a hands-on component where they're actually testing things and doing a science experiment, and then they have a class debrief at the end. Those build on each other, so they have almost mini topics that build towards understanding the unit that they're studying. So what I like about it is it's really inquiry-based. They don't just get the answer. They have to do some work for it, which I think we want for all of our kids, especially when we're talking about the field of science. So they really have to work to learn those different science skills.
Thank you. I really appreciate, as been stated, all the work that went into that.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to recommended action, 11.1, elementary school boundary adjustments, and Mr. Dorn. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Meyer, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Ms. Marshall. Presented here tonight is a recommendation to move a small portion of the McVeigh Elementary School attendance area into Huber Ridge's attendance zone. Post-elementary school realignment, the McVeigh attendance area has continued to experience growth. There are currently 675 elementary school students in the McVeigh attendance zone, and the building's capacity is designed for 600 students with a capacity target of 540 to 570 students. The student population has been somewhat manageable, with the number of students who have chosen to attend Emerson or Hamby Elementary School being 65 students. However, we are now seeing a trend rather than a bubble capacity issue for the building. In particular, the current number of students projected for the second grade would require an additional fifth section, creating space issues within the building. The neighborhoods recommended to move from McVeigh to Huber Ridge are located on the southern end of the district off of Morse Road via Appian Way. This area has 78 elementary students in it. Some of these students attend Emerson Hamby or are open enrolled to another building already. Therefore, there are currently 55 kindergarten through fourth grade students at McVeigh and 9 students enrolled to be at McVeigh in kindergarten next year from this particular area. Moving these students should relieve the problems at McVeigh, but we should continue to watch the building's enrollment as the east side of the reservoir continues to develop. Huber Ridge is currently under its targeted capacity and is scheduled to reduce staffing accordingly. The addition of these students to Huber Ridge will be welcomed by the building. For the students moving into the Huber Ridge area, we will see better class sizes, a shorter trip to and from school, and more opportunities for programming, including more space in all-day kindergarten. The students' middle and high school assignments will not change, and it is recommended that the board approve this boundary adjustment beginning in the 23-24 school year.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you, and thanks for looking at it carefully. We never, it's always hard to think about moving kids, right?
Very hard.
Yeah, it's not something we do lightly. So I'm wondering if you can talk about outreach to families, communication. Obviously, you know, we're just have this in front of us now, but what's the conversation been?
So we sent communication to families about 2 weeks ago, not last week, but the week before, letting them know that the board would be considering this at tonight's meeting. I've had no personal response or feedback. I know that Mr. Fullen at McVeigh has received a couple email and a phone call, but has not been an overwhelming response in terms of communication back to the district.
Okay. And as far as, I know because we don't take this lightly, we always look at whether this is a sustainable solution. Can you talk about how we've?
This looks to be a very sustainable solution for this particular group of students. It doesn't look like we'd ever have to make an adjustment for these particular students moving forward. This was a neighborhood that was not moved during realignment, so they're not moving back-to-back years, which I think was really important in this process. And I know that Mrs. Chafin at Huber Ridge has talked about having some sort of opportunity for the kids to come and visit the building before the end of the school year. So if the board makes this adjustment tonight, then those plans will go in place. The students and families would expect to receive a communication then from Principal Chafin.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate that, with Ms. Chafin taking that on. Last question, you may or may not have this off the top of your head, but can you tell us what the approximate change in transport time is?
It's about 2 minutes, about 2 miles. It's about whether you're not, the extra 2 miles going to McVeigh, a lot of that is on I-270. Mm-hmm. So it's about 2 miles shorter, and it's about 2 minutes shorter. So that's how they sort of coincide.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.2, school year 2023-2024 calendar update. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dorn.
Presented here tonight is a correction, really, to the 2023-2024 school calendar. This correction is related to the September early release date that was originally set for September 21st, 2023. After the calendar was established, it was determined that that same date would be better served as a parent-teacher conference day. Thus, the correction moves the early release date to September 28th, 1 week later. So it is recommended that the board approve the changes in the date for the September early release by 1 week to accommodate for those parent-teacher conferences on the 21st.
Any questions or comments here? Hearing none.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.3, resolution to approve Hanby Elementary School, Emerson Elementary School, and North High School interior renovations. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Welcome, Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you. Good evening, President Davidson, Vice President Meyer, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Mrs. Marshall. I will be providing an overview for the resolution being presented for your consideration tonight for the interior renovation contracts for work at Emerson Elementary, Hanby Elementary, and North High School. The scope of work at each of the 3 school sites is as follows, and it's a small laundry list if you read the preamble you were handed earlier. Emerson Elementary, upgrades to the clinic. What's important to note here, this will put this clinic in alignment, make it equitable with the bulk of the rest of the clinics in the district. Painting of all classroom walls in the main office area. Replace carpet throughout the entire school. Installation of Westerville City Schools standardized ViewSonic teaching wall infrastructure in all classrooms. Make a note, we're not buying the ViewSonic monitor, if you will, that's through the IT department, just to share, and a separate installation corresponding with this project. Painting of all exterior fire escape stair systems, renovation of classroom 105, that was mandated or required due to the expansion of the clinic into that area. HVAC upgrades, which is replacement of 3 existing condensing units, and installation of a full radon mitigation system. There were 2 rooms, including the student dining, that tested positive. Hanby Elementary, replacement of the gym wood flooring system, and closing of the current opening between the cafeteria and the gym, with the installation of a wall as well as a partial folding panel partition. I understand that's been on the district's radar for at least 3 principals, so glad we're finally addressing it. Upgrades to the media center. Updates to the main network data closet that happens to be in that media center. HVAC upgrades, replacement of an existing air handling unit, condensing unit, and a rooftop unit. Painting of all group restrooms, corridors, and classrooms. Replace carpet throughout all the classrooms and related support spaces. Locker base removal and terrazzo patching. Installation again of the ViewSonic teaching wall system in all the classrooms, ignore the monitor itself being part of the IT department scope. And I negated to put this on there. There's a small amount of radon mitigation system also going in at Hanby, just to share. North High School, upgrades to the Student Union and Media Center, replacement of 2 classroom party walls in 4 science rooms, basically replacing a movable partition with a permanent wall, again installing the infrastructure for that ViewSonic teaching wall that's now standardized through much of the district, and some work in some art classrooms with some teaching walls and other things there. Bids were received and publicly read on May 2nd, 2023. The combined lowest responsible bids totaled $3,888,580 even, and are as follows by bid package. Bid Package 1, Emerson Elementary. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Black Bronco Construction, LLC, in the amount of $1,162,500. Bid Package 2, Hanby Elementary. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Place Services Incorporated in the amount of $2,539,800. And finally, Bid Package 3, North High School. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Ultimax Incorporated in the amount of $186,280. The total recommended awarded amount for the 3 bid packages is $238,580 over, or 6.5%, over the architect's published bid estimate, just to share. And that was $3,650,000. The schools are slated to start construction when contractors should begin arriving May 25th of this year, with the bulk of the work being done August 1st, substantial completion August 1st, 2023. And make an exception of that within the bid package, all the HVAC equipment, the condensers, the air handling units that were noted, they have until August 1st of 2024 to complete that. All 3 contractors as proposed for the project are known general trade firms that have successfully completed past work for Westerville City Schools, as well as other public and private entities throughout Central Ohio. It is therefore recommended that the board accept the bids for the interior renovation projects as follows. Again, Emerson Elementary from Black Bronco Construction, LLC, Hanby Elementary from Place Services Incorporated, and North High School from Ultimax Incorporated. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Hearing none. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
appreciate it.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.4, Ohio Health Athletic Training Agreement. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And welcome, Ms. Baldwin.
All right. Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Mrs. Marshall. I'm excited to present the Ohio Health Athletic Training Agreement for a renewal of our agreement. We have a great partnership with Ohio Health for athletic trainers across the district. The big difference that you'll see in this particular contract is that Ohio Health is providing additional services for our middle school as we onboard Minerva Park in the fall at no additional cost. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
No question, just a comment. It has been a great partnership, and I really appreciate all the work that went into creating that partnership initially, and all of the work that has gone forward to maintain it on both the school district side. And I'm looking at Mark Hershiser because he had so much to do with creating this initially. It's been a wonderful partnership for us and hopefully for Ohio Health as well.
It is. Yeah, I'm excited to continue to work with them.
Any questions? Any others? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you.
Dr. Nestor Baker? Yes. Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any public comments this evening, which takes us to board comments. Would anyone like to go?
Well, I'll go and be brief. Want to once again congratulate and thank all of the retirees that we had an opportunity to celebrate here this evening. Want to again express mine and I'm sure all of our true appreciation to all of our school district employees, our educational staff, and just everyone who helps to make the Westerville City Schools a great place to be. So thank you very much.
That's an astounding number of years that our retirees represent. And since Mr. Reeves was not up here tonight, and since I'm in the history business, if you go back 700 and approximately 50 years, Serpent Mound was about 200 years old, and the Mississippian society dominated North America, including Cahokia, which is near present-day St. Louis and was probably larger than London at the time. So in any case, Mr. Reeves, it just underscores how many years that really is, and just want to thank the retirees for their tremendous work. Thanks.
Don't forget about Kubla Khan and St. Thomas Aquinas.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
So good. I don't have a history lesson, but I'll echo my colleagues' comments. Just thank you to the staff in the district and all the retirees. I just have a brief but update on House Bill 33, the state's biennial operating budget. It passed out of the House of Representatives and is before the Senate Finance Committee. And in addition to what we've talked about in past board meetings, the sub-bill would make permanent the use and reporting of gifted student funds and requires the Ohio Department of Education to reduce gifted student funding for non-compliance of those funds. Makes permanent the pilot program that provides alternative funding to dropout prevention and recovery, the e-schools. Limits the portion of sports gaming tax revenue that must be used to support K through 12 athletics and other extracurricular activities to lesser of $15 million per fiscal year, or 50% of that revenue for that year, and allocates the remainder of the revenues for the support of public and non-public education for students in grades K through 12. Increases the base minimum teacher salary from $30,000 to $40,000 and adjusts the statutory stepped teacher salary scheduled based on the change to the minimum salary using the same percentages for each step as under current law. Changes the grade band specifications for resident educator, professional educator, senior professional educator, or lead professional educator license from grades pre-K through 5, 4 through 9, or 7 through 12 to grades pre-K through 8 and 6 through 12. Extends the dates within which teachers must complete the bill's dyslexia professional development training requirements. Requires a coach to take a mental health course approved by the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Removes school resource officer funding. Provides funding to support instruction for high school students in CPR. Creates the College Credit Plus Innovation Waiver, pathways to allow students who do not meet traditional college readiness standards to participate in the CCP and receive an industry recognized credential or certificate that is aligned with in-demand job. Makes changes to how certain projections are labeled in the 5-year forecast. Moves funding for school-based health centers to the Ohio Department of Health. Adds qualifying independent STEM schools that meet ODE quality requirements to receive economically disadvantaged funding. This funding is comparable to the funding that quality community schools receive. Eliminates student retention under the law known as the third grade reading guarantee, beginning with the 2023-24 school year, and requires only one annual administration of the third grade ELA assessment. Amongst many other things, the Senate Education Committee will be holding hearings for public testimony on the budget this week on Tuesday, May 9th at 3 p.m., Wednesday, May 10th at 4 p.m., and Thursday, May 11th at 11 a.m. if needed. They will be accepting proponent, opponent, and interested party testimony during these hearings. That's it.
Just real quick, I want to say congratulations and thank you to all of our retirees. We very much do appreciate you. And I would like to say welcome, and is there, to Amber Case in your new role. We're super excited about that. Is there anyone else here that I'm missing that is taking on a new role or a new hire? I apologize if I'm not recognizing you. Well, congratulations. And that's it for me. So the board will meet in regular session on Monday, May 22nd, 2023, here at 6 p.m. at the Early Learning Center. And with that, 15.1, we have a motion to enter executive session for the purposes of discussing employment and compensation of a public employee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Meyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Altman?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. So we are going to move into executive session now. We are back from executive session, and I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Altman,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Yes.